let's talk about the healing part, because that's also in the subhead, right? Identifying and healing from this. So give
Mhm.
us a path to healing.
Remember, there's people who are going to be listening to your show, given who listens and, who really are trying to be great and innovate and all of that, that might be saying, "Ooh, am I the narcissistic person?" Is there anyone who's sitting there saying, am I the narcissistic person? I want you to know that's the best prognostic sign ever, because the vast majority of people who are narcissistic don't have the self-reflective capability to do that. They would either just turn it off or not listen
So
or
if you're
say,
still
honey,
listening, you're okay.
you're probably okay. I would say that but you shared a very interesting insight that you felt like your ambition was getting more and more unfettered, and you had a loving, empathic wife, partner, and she said, I love you, like, what's happening?
Mhm.
And you were then able to receive that love and not just tell her to shut up, stop, you're getting in the way of my ambition, which is what a narcissistic person would do,
Mhm.
but rather you looked to your loving life partner to say, she knows me, let me listen to this. That is not a narcissistic maneuver.
Mm.
So right there, that dyadic interaction you described with her, I'm like, that just sort of like, no. But you can see how a narcissistic person say, you're trying to stop me from growing. You're jealous of me. You want to hold me back. That's what that interaction would look like
Mm.
if your wife was sharing that with a narcissistic partner. Does that make
It
sense?
makes perfect sense, and
So
it makes me feel
yeah.
better about myself.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's the not. So again, I'm not going to pathologize ambition. I think ambition's a wonderful thing. It really, really is. It's the, and what happens is ambition, like everything else, like in life, has to be
Mhm.
calibrated. So you're right. Ambition will go, go, go. And then we need the people in our lives to say, hey, how about we just sit down and play some Scrabble, or you want to watch a movie? And because and when we love what we do, I'm a very ambitious person and I get lost in it. And I do need sometimes the people around me who love me say, slow down, sweetie. Like, we want to see you, and not snap at them and not get overly defensive. Narcissistic people will do that. So my book is really about the healing process of people who are in relationships with narcissistic people. And that might be an intimate relationship. And I think in the majority of cases of people who going through this, it is an intimate relationship, but it could be anything. It could be family of origin. It could be friends. It could be workplace. In the audiences that listen to this, I bet more than a few listeners had a business partner who was narcissistic. And I'll tell you, a narcissistic business partner can destroy a person's decades worth of work. If you get into bed with the wrong person on that, it will harm you the way an intimate narcissistic relationship can, especially if it's a two-person operation. And so that the healing process from when you've been in any form of narcissistic relationship, it really starts with radical acceptance. And the key piece of radical acceptance is the narcissistic personality, the behaviors associated with it, the dynamics associated with it do not change. What you see is what you get. The way it is, this relationship, this is it. So you're going to make your decisions on the basis of what this is,
Mhm.
not on the basis of what it could be, not on the basis of what it will be someday. This is it. It's almost like somebody saying, I built a house in Chicago and I'm hoping it's warm this winter. I'm like, you built a house in Chicago. It's going to be cold in the winter. Radical acceptance. There's no beach bathing suit version of February there. And so it's that and it is literally that, so it's that simplistic. That's what you've got here. And yet in its simplicity, it's a very thorny construct, because the things that narcissistic folks do in relationships are hurtful and harmful and destabilizing and upsetting. And just because you radically accept, because most of us can't get out of all of these relationships. They might be parents, they might be siblings, they may be collaborators we have to continue working with, they may be people, marriages people can't get out of, whatever it is. You can radically accept they're not going to change. You can radically accept what this is, but when they keep saying hurtful things to you, it's still going to hurt. This radical acceptance around that. And once a person radically accepts, they go down a really painful rabbit hole of grief.
Mhm.
It is because this is grief of the marriage someone hoped they have, the future they hoped they'd have, the parent they hoped their kids would have. They're giving up on all that. It's a loss of innocence. It's recognizing you were never going to have the childhood you wanted, that it left some permanent scars for you, that you were about to lose everything you ever worked on in this business. These are massive losses. But that hope is what often kept people going. It might get better, or maybe it's not that bad. And so the hope And almost the illusion or the not knowing and the lack of education meant that a lot of people were allowed to sort of stay in their happy place, but the happy place was a delusion and it doesn't work. And so education, radical acceptance, working through the grief, and then becoming more discerning. Because even if you clean up your act and mourn and grieve and go through whatever you go through with your current narcissistic relationships, I will bet anything I've got on you will run into this again in some arena of your life. And you have to be able to be discerning so this time they don't get as deep.